Hey, Sandra's Anthony Rose. We got a fun little video for you guys today. Now, we assume that if you clicked on this video, that you probably want to make your turns better. But there are probably some things that you're doing that are getting in your way that you're not even aware of. So we're gonna lay out the 5 biggest things that we see that hold people back from making their turns better. So stick around.
We're taking our shot, bring what you got. We're going all the way to the top. We will hear the sound of 1 million.
Guys, we've been doing a lot of traveling lately. We've been doing a lot of boot camps across the country, and we kind of run into the same stuff. A lot of people ask, like, how do you make your turns better? How do you make, keep better balance? But we end up saying the same stuff over and over. So we decided to make this video so you guys don't have to ask us those same questions over and over. Now, if you're brand new here at the channel, welcome. We post all of the country dances from two-step to West Coast swing to country swing, waltz, all that. But you can notice this little button down here, and it says subscribe. Now, if you click that button, then you become an X dancer, and you'll know when all the awesome stuff happens here on the channel. So we've got 5 tips for you guys, starting at number 5. All right, guys, in at number 5, we have I'm getting off balance in my turns, right? I'm losing my balance. Now, if you think about this, the next time you ask that question, or if you're getting off balance, you're probably getting off balance at the end of a turn, not at the beginning. All right, so what most people do, unfortunately, is say, I'm off balance at the end of the turn. What's wrong with the end of the turn? And they start figuring out what's wrong with the end of the turn. What really is happening is they're getting off balance at the end of the turn because of the way they start. It's the beginning of the turn where we need to put our attention, because if you have a good beginning, then you're setting yourself up for success. If you don't start the turn well, you're going to finish the turn. Yeah, so everything is like a chain reaction.
Yes.
Now, I'm gonna say something that's not gonna make any sense. But to start a turn and finish a turn well, what has to happen is you have to turn off of a step, not onto a step. I know that doesn't make any sense yet, but it will hopefully in just a minute.
We see this all the time, and it's something that goes overlooked, and it's really 95% of the time, this is the thing that will help.
Yep. So if you look, now Rose is on her left foot. Now this is not dance specific, we're using two-step in this example, but this is concept that's across the board in all dances. What I need to do is, now she's on her left foot, I need to turn her off of that left foot, and then she's got rotation to go into the right. So what happens is, unfortunately, people will get onto that left foot and they think about, when do I turn? I turn onto the right foot, right?
But I'm already committed here when I'm on my right foot, and it's hard for me to turn from there.
What I need to do is get enough rotation off of the left, so by the time she puts her weight down onto her right foot, she's got the right amount of rotation. Now, what's gonna happen here, if I do this by myself, if she's here onto her left foot, if she gets enough rotation off of that left foot so that her right foot ends up here, I've got a half a rotation. Now she has successes at the end, because now she's got a balance and control. She's finished facing the right direction, and she can actually step. So if we watch that again from this side, she gets enough rotation, she goes step, she gets enough rotation, and now she's here, she's finished the rotation, and then she can step. Same thing for West Coast swing, country swing, anything else. However, if she doesn't turn off of that left foot, she turns too late, which means she's not turning off of this foot, she's trying to turn on this one, and she doesn't get enough rotation. If she only gets a quarter here, now this extra quarter she didn't do has to be made up somewhere, right? In order for her to finish facing the right wall, she has to make that turn up, and that's gonna be at the end, and that's what's throwing her off balance. So if she only gets a quarter, and now she goes half-half, she's facing here, and she still has one more step, she's finishing late, and she's off balance, right? So what we've got to do as leaders is think of turning her off of a step, not onto it. So if we were using two-step, for example, and she went quick, quick, slow, slow, I've got to think about turning her off of that foot so she can get enough rotation to land at the right place. West Coast swing, same thing.
And this is for leads, the timing, but followers, practice this on your own so you can learn how much rotation it takes to get a full half of a turn. A big mistake that I see with followers is that they're just dancing when they have a lead, and they're relying on him, but they're not carrying their own weight and their own amount of rotation that will help so much.
You can't do it by yourself, you can't do it with a partner.
Exactly.
And that's basically what you're saying.
Grabbing
so if we apply this to West Coast swing and we're doing like a rolling pass, I'm gonna step 1, 2. Now I've gotta turn her off of that foot. She's gotta get enough rotation there so that she can finish that in time to actually finish and anchor. If she starts that too late, she can't get the rotation at the beginning, which means she's gonna be flailing at the end of the turn. So, chain reaction, tip number 5, in this 5-part series, tip number 5 is to start the turn on time and off of the foot, not onto it. All right, guys, and number 4 is not looking where you're going. And what we're talking about is spotting, okay? Some of you have heard the term spotting. You kind of know what it is. Some of you have not. But it's essentially looking in the direction of movement.
It helps so much. It's a sin if you're not doing it, truly.
Right. I'm going to tell you on the reasons why you should spot. Number 1, it helps you turn in a straight line. For some people, it helps you keep from getting so dizzy. It helps with control, and it looks better.
Yeah.
There's like no
Contrast.
downside to spotting. Let me show you what spotting is. It's not a spotting class, but I want to talk about the concept. If I'm turning Rose and she's turning in this direction, she is going to be looking where she's going, which is that way. So she finds her spot with her eyes. She says, I'm going to that spot. She turns, she keeps her head on it, and she finds it again. And she finds it again. And she finds it again. Now notice I said, look where you're going. One mistake that people will make, first, the biggest common thing for new dancers is they don't spot. Their head just turns with their body and they have no awareness of where they're going. It is hard to go in a place if you can't see the place, right?
Yeah, and also you're seeing the entire room. So for anyone that gets dizzy, really work on your spotting because it helps. Like 50%, I swear it'll be better.
Yeah, I mean, so if you don't believe the position of your head can help you keep your balance, here's what I want you guys to try at home, is try a turn with your head looking straight up at the ceiling. Do that. So if she's got her head up in the ceiling, you will get extremely dizzy after like 1 or 2 turns, okay? So the position of your head does matter. But what's happening is in order to turn in a straight line, you have to tell your body where to go. Like if I'm going towards you and I'm looking at you, I'm saying I'm projecting my body in that direction, and I say, okay, there's my spot. I need to go towards that again. That's essentially what happened. Now, a huge mistake that people will make if they are spotting is they're spotting in the wrong direction, which means they're spotting on their partner.
Yes.
That is a mistake too. Your partner is either standing still while you're moving or he's moving around you. It's hard to find a specific spot if you're trying to spot on him. He is a moving object.
Right, it's like driving the car, you look at your phone for a minute and you start veering that way. If you keep your eyes on the road, you're probably gonna go straight.
Here's an example of why we don't spot on a partner. So if she's spotting on me now, I'm over here. Yeah, so if she's spotting on me and I'm turning her, I might be moving around her to do something else. She has no sense of awareness of where she's going or what she's doing because he's also in motion because he's got places to be, okay? Now the easiest way to work on spotting is literally just to stand there, look over your shoulder, turn your body, keep looking there, and then find that spot again and then apply that to the dancing, okay? So regardless of dance, regardless of what style it is, look where you're going. All right, guys, number 3 is having poor hand connection. You are touching a person. You are partner dancing. This is partner dancing, it's not solo dancing. Now, if you were doing ballet, tap, jazz, or something where you're by yourself and you're not connected to another person, this stuff doesn't matter. You have other priorities. But when you're dancing with a partner, one person's leading, one person is following, and you have a physical connection between the two. So we have to talk about the places where you're touching. And I'm gonna show you some stuff close up. All right, so if you notice what I'm doing with my hand here, I use what's called pistol grip. So pew, pew, right?
Spider-Man.
Or Spider-Man, however you want to. I use my middle 2 fingers and I place it in this magical spot in her hand, which is right here. She has this magical little tickle spot, and if I take my middle 2 fingers and I put it in that spot, that's how I'm connecting with her. I'm never going to hold, take, grab, squeeze, or pinch, or use my thumbs.
Right.
All right? So when I'm turning her, if I use those middle 2 fingers and I keep it in that spot, when I turn her, I'm just rotating like a pin and cup around in that spot, and that's gonna give a good connection between the two of us. All right, so if I'm using my thumbs and I'm clamping down or she's clamping down, it's not helpful.
Or if followers have a flat hand, you want to have a nice cup so you can actually feel him rotating you and feel that connection.
If she has a flat hand, for example, she holds it here, I can't connect with any of this. When her hand comes up, my fingertips are still gonna be in that spot in her hand. So if I turn her over her head this way, I'm still keeping my middle 2 fingers in that cup or in that center spot. Now, another thing that plays into this is the position that I place my hand, like the direction my fingertips are pointing, is also helpful to communicate things to her. So if I bring my hand up and I'm in this position, you notice I'm not here, right? I'm not here, I'm not here. My fingertips go in her palm. Now, if my fingertips are pointing in that direction and they're leaning that way, I can't turn her inwards, but I can turn her outwards. Now, if I bring the hand up and it's just the opposite direction, my fingertips are still in that spot, but my fingertips are pointing that direction. I can turn her that way, but I can't turn her the other. So you have to have your fingertips pointing in the right direction, leaders. Followers, you create a cup, fingertips in the center, fingertips pointing in the direction of the movement. Now, another thing, I always want my palm facing her, not facing me. I see this a lot from beginners. I don't know why this is a thing, but this is a thing, so keep in mind.
Hand position is a thing for beginners, I feel. When you're dancing with a good lead, I feel like mostly those little details like this really makes a difference.
Do leaders really do that thing that you just, no?
You know, a leader with it, yeah, exactly.
But if I bring my hand up, okay, I'm putting my fingertips in that position, I tilt the hands, my palm is facing her. I can't turn her this way, right? So if you watch multiple turns, every time, so she's kind of got this, dome that goes around her head, and I'm moving my hand around it, and my fingertips will face her the entire way through. So if I turn her, my palms are facing her, and then as it goes over, my palms are still facing her, and my palms are facing her the entire time. Never do I hold, squeeze, take, grab, pinch, none of that stuff. We're not lobsters. We're connecting fingertips to cup. All right, guys, number 2 on the list is poor arm position. Okay, so we talked about the hands. How do you connect with the fingertips and all that stuff? But the hands are connected to the arms, which are connected to the whatever bone that is, right? So it goes from here and all the way up the arm. So we got to talk about what to do with the arms next, okay? There's really 2 parts because there are 2 arms. Okay, there's the arm that we are connected to.
They're learning
and the
so
one
much right
that
now.
we aren't, okay? So let's say, for example, if I'm turning Rose with this hand, okay? So we've talked about the hand connection. She's got this arm, but what does she do with this one? Now, we talk about this in a lot of videos. If you look at what Rose does here, we call this guard the girls. Now, keep in mind, I'm connected to this one, but what she does with this one is super important too. We keep from the wrist to the elbow parallel to the ground. We put that in front of the chest to guard the girls, all right? The wrist is directly in the center of the chest, but you notice her elbow is up, and that's why I said this is parallel. This doesn't drop down here, it stays up. Now, I've seen some people talk about put your hand on your hip, put it in your pocket, put it don't do any of those things no matter who said it. You actually want that opposite arm to be here. Now, if you watch what happens, there's some benefit to this. Number 1, for balance, this wraps the weight around the body because the only way to lose balance is when the weight is too lopsided in one position or the other. But if you look at this, let's say I'm turning her and I need to take that hand. It's in a position where I can basically just go right down the arm and find the hand. The second reason we want that arm in that position, guard the girls, is what if I need her back? If she's turning and she keeps that elbow up, I can find her back and take her into dance position or a dip or whatever it is I want to do. But it also gives me the opportunity, like let's say I need the elbow in some situations. If she keeps that arms there, then I can find that elbow and extend out through it, okay? So you're making yourself available and accessible and also helps with balance. But here's the biggest thing that we see is not knowing what to do with the hand that we're connected with. There are 2 positions we want to keep that arm, depending on whether it's an inside turn or an outside turn. Here's the things that are pretty much consistent. If you look at Rose from this position, from her elbow to her shoulder, this is now parallel to the ground. Keep in mind, this is the one I'm connected to. So from her elbow to her shoulder, I want this parallel to the ground, not high up, which is a huge mistake, not down low. We want this parallel. Now, if you look at this from this position, this is a 45-degree angle. This would be 90, right? This is 0. This is a 45. Now, this doesn't matter which direction she's turning, okay? The reason why we don't put that arm up any higher is because when that hand goes up really, really high, it works like a crowbar. There's too much torque and leverage in that thing, and it can throw her off balance. Yes. We want to keep that lower.
And you're really more connected to her center. When it's too high up, you're not connected to the part that's actually helping her turn and rotate and stay connected to you.
Yep, so we want that elbow, shoulder, parallel to the ground. Now, from the elbow to the wrist, this is going to depend on which direction she is turning.
Yep.
This is the part where there's 2 halves, okay? If I'm turning her an outside turn, which means I'm turning her away from her body, from her wrist to her elbow, we want this pretty much parallel, like the vertical, right? This is a 90-degree angle. And the reason for that is because if she's going in other directions, like she's bent backwards or she's here, I'm pushing into the palm of her hand. This is vertical. The muscle group that she uses to create that rotation can be very, very stable in that position.
And I learned the importance of this when I started leading ladies around where I didn't feel any connection. It was really when I was leading them to do an outside turn, they would let this hand get away and I wasn't connecting, therefore she wasn't connected with me, and so she wasn't able to turn and when I was wanting her to. too.
Yeah, and you'll also see this where with the hand, even if it is vertical, her wrist will be bent back, and I can't lead her like that. I prefer to push into this flat line.
Connected into
now,
him.
when she's doing an inside turn, we'll get you on the other side. And an inside turn from her shoulder to her elbow is still parallel to the ground. This is still a 90-degree angle, but now instead of this being vertical, this goes at a 90-degree angle. So if you watch this here from this position, this is an outside turn, this is an inside turn. And the reason why we go into this position rather than here is because now the pressure is actually pulling that arm that direction anyways. You're relying on a different muscle group. So if you look at Rose's back here, if her arm is in this position, the muscle group I'm relying on to keep that stable is around through here. If I keep the hand vertical and try to press on it, I'm relying on this muscle group here, which is not stable enough to keep that arm from falling in anyways, right? So when she's doing an inside turn, this is a 45, this is completely flat, and we can keep that rotating around her head in that position, all right?
Connected
now
the whole
this
time.
is a lot of stuff, this is very, very technical stuff, and is not going to happen, right, when you first try this. Here's what's gonna happen, you're gonna keep this stuff in mind, you're gonna try to keep that arm low, he's gonna turn you, ladies, and then your arm's gonna go woo, 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 because I don't wanna get hit in the head, right?
One thing I want to say with these tips is do one at a time where that is your focus. Don't let us overwhelm you with all of these tips and you try them all at once. Really focus on number 5, number 4, number 3, and let that become a habit and muscle memory.
That's the way we practice everything. So like if we're trying a new technique or style, whatever, we'll put on a song whether we're out dancing, we're dancing in the studio, we'll dance for that 3 or 4 minutes, and there's that one thing we keep in mind.
All of them will help,
I am going to do this thing for this song. You're still trying to do the other stuff, but this is at the tip of my mind all the time. So the arm position is super important. Again, just review, this arm is parallel to the ground. If it's an outside turn, this is vertical. If it's an inside turn, this is at a 45-degree angle, and this opposite arm is in that position. Now keep in mind, if I'm turning over the other side, it is just the opposite, okay? So this is the arm that's not being used, this is the arm that is being used. Try that and see if that doesn't help. All right, guys, in at number 1 of biggest mistakes that new dancers make for turning is not prepping turns. Prep means to prepare, right? We have to prepare her as a leader so she is ready to initiate a turn. She also has to know this thing is happening, so we're talking about time. Let me talk you about how what prep is. So if I'm sending her and I'm just walking her in this direction, I'm not doing anything dance specific, if she's walking, if I suddenly didn't do anything and said, surprise, you're turning, she's probably not gonna catch it. But what I have to do in a prep, prepare her for the turn. So I'm walking her forward, whatever the thing is, and I've got to prep her for that turn in order to send her to that turn. Now there's a lot of theory here. There's a lot of like,
a lot of reasons.
You know, physics are physics. There has to be energy stored and released to create motion, right? This is a different technique, but a good example of this. If we were putting ourselves in this position and leaning away from each other, we have energy stored that way for her. Because we have energy stored that way, if I move, she comes with me. Now, if there's no energy stored and we're here and the arms are leaning down, if I move, nothing happens until there actually is the weight. Now, that happens in linear motion like that, or it happens in rotation, right? So if I'm gonna turn Rose to the left, right, which is counterclockwise, I'm turning her this way, I have to back her up to the right. So it means I've got some energy stored clockwise in order to release that energy counterclockwise. That should happen anytime there's a change of motion, whether it's linear or rotational. I know I'm saying a bunch of big words here, but this has to apply in all dances, and it doesn't matter what style it is. There's always something that stretches like a rubber band and releases the energy.
Winding up a toy.
Now, here's a pet peeve of mine. I'm not a big fan of double preps, for those of you who do those. That would mean something that would happen like in a two-step like this, where we're dancing quick, prep. That is complete wasted energy. It's confusing. It doesn't look good. There's no benefit to doing that. So what I do is I try to prep on the last weight change before a thing happens. It's got to be useful, right? So I'm only going to back her up on that last step before there's a rotation. So what that would look like is straight. The last step is now prep, and then there's a rotation. There's always a backing up, okay? So if you're dancing like East Coast swing, for example, I don't know how many of you guys do that, but if we dance triple step, there is a backing up of the weight, and I use that to create that rotation. That's gonna happen in all of your dances, West Coast, all this stuff. But there has to be a prep, there has to be a preparation.
A warning.
We're talking about time. Leading is partially, what do I do is partially, how do I do it? It is mostly when we do it. We have to let her know she's gonna do something.
Yeah, ladies like surprises, not so much in dancing.
No. The good leaders
We
are
like
the
to know what
ones
we're
that she
doing.
clearly understood. She knew exactly what it was he was asking her to do. But
very
you have
clear.
to let her know she's going to do something, and then she is doing it, not that she should have done it, right? So
At the
you don't
right
want to
time.
just say now and surprise her with things, okay? So what we have to do in all things, so like if we're dancing in this position and we're dancing a two-step and we're going at you, what happens is quick, slow, there's the backing up. I'm exaggerating, please don't do that much. And then from there, I can use that energy to send her out, okay? So there always has to be a prep. There always has to be a preparation. There always has to be on the last step, before you want her to turn, you store that energy and then you release it. If this stuff doesn't make sense to you, rewind it, watch it again. If it still doesn't make sense, comment down below if you
Yes.
have any questions, because we read
love to
all of
help.
those. We respond to everybody and we really want to help you guys.
Practice
So
it.
thank you guys so much
Yes.
for watching. What did we miss? Was there a tip that we missed in this
We
list?
wanna hear from you.
Let us know, because we got more videos to do, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Bye.
Hey, Sisters of Theater Rose, we've got a fun... Hey, Sisters! Is that loud enough,
It's
Gio?
too early.
These are
Long time.
5...
Oh, same time. We got some tips for you, 5 tips.
Boogies in your eyes or something. There you go. The boogies.
I'm very off balance. Not my turns. I am on it this morning. Maybe I should run the video.
All right, guys, if you had not done so already, we want to personally invite you to join the X Dancegram. This is an exclusive club where we email you guys videos and tips and tricks and everything that are
Fun
not
friends.
here on YouTube. So click that link right there to join and join in the conversation. Or if you'd like to watch another video here on YouTube, click that one. That one's pretty good too. We'll see you next time.